Good evening and welcome to the Carnegie Town Hall. This meeting of the Sioux Falls City Council will begin in a few moments. The City Council meets on the first, second, and third Tuesday of each month at 7 o'clock p.m. and serves as the city's policy-making and legislative body. Each meeting is governed by Robert's Rules of Order unless those guidelines conflict with city ordinance or charter. City Council meetings offer an opportunity for citizens to speak directly to their elected representatives. Those in attendance are invited to address the Council during the public input segment at the beginning of the agenda. At that time, any issue that is not subject to formal action later in the agenda can be addressed. Testimony that concerns a resolution or an ordinance's second reading is only allowed when those specific agenda items are being addressed by the Council. When addressing the Council, citizens should speak directly into the microphones at the podium and state their names for the record after being recognized by the Chair. To accommodate and respect all viewpoints, citizen comments are limited by ordinance to no more than 5 minutes each. Comments should be respectful and focused on providing new information that will benefit the Council's deliberative process. The Chair reserves the right to limit the number of speakers. City Council meetings are broadcast live on CityLink and online at www.siouxfalls.org. Information regarding the City Council, its committees, meetings, briefings, and members is available by visiting www.siouxfalls.org/council or by calling the Council office at 605-367-8085. Thank you for your interest in Sioux Falls City Government.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. This is Tuesday, June 9th, and we'll start our meeting with a roll call of our City Council.
Council members Anderson, Erickson, here. Erpenbach, Jameson, here. Karski,
Here.
Kiley,
Here.
Rolfing,
Here.
Anderson.
Here. Councilor Stagers. Got Councilor Stagers
Present.
Very good. Thank you so much. We do lead our meetings with an invocation. We're very, very blessed to have Pastor Dwayne Williams back at our City Council meeting, which is great. Pastor, thanks for being here. He is with the Emmanuel Baptist Church here in Sioux Falls. And what we'd ask you to do is to stand for the pastor's invocation and then remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Dwayne, welcome back.
If you would bow with me. Merciful and loving God, how wonderful it is to live in a city where we're afforded the privileges that we have, the freedoms that we enjoy, the leadership that you have given. We come, dear God, to pray for your continual providence for the city and all those who inhabit this land. We pray for your blessing, O God, upon this leadership, upon our mayor, O God. Guide him with the vision for this city, O Lord. We pray for this council. Give them the wisdom to govern and lead your people. We pray for the staff who facilitates all of the work that needs to be done within these walls. O God, we pray in the name of Jesus, your blessing upon this people who have come from far and near to live in this land where there's such an amazing transformation that's going on. And it's all by your will and all by your design. Never let us lose sight of who you are. Never let us turn away and acknowledge some other source of blessing other than the one that extends from your hand. O God Almighty, continue to bless Sioux Falls and its leadership. And Lord, we pray that as we as a people begin to love one another, that all who come into this region will know that this land is blessed solely because of you. And as we begin and learn to love one another, help us to love you even better. For these things we pray in your mighty Son's name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor, thank you so much. We'll now move to our consent agenda. Council, any motions or changes?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Beck's made a motion to proceed with our consent agenda, seconded by Councilor Karski. Councilor Staggers.
Yes, I have a couple items I'd like to pull for this evening. The first one is with the economic development. It is the core facade revitalization at $80,000, and then Parks and Rec agreement for enhanced commissioning services, which I think is LEED certified, $47,800.
Very good, Councilor. Thank you so much. Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Mayor, I'd also like to, where is it here? Let's see. I wanted to pull the MOU agreement, number 3, off the consent agenda.
Very good. Councilors, any more items? Very good. A roll call vote on the remaining items.
Council members Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you. Now, our regular agenda, councils. Any changes?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Erpenbach.
Then a motion to approve our agenda tonight has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you. Folks, welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. Thanks so much for joining us. This is an opportunity for you to engage the council on any topic that you want. All we'd ask is that you just introduce yourself to the people of our town, and if you can keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, the council would appreciate that as well. If it is an item that's on the agenda later on, we'd ask you just to hold your comments until that time, if it is a second reading. So folks, welcome. Mr. Denson.
Bruce Danielson, Sioux Falls. We've been asking what makes an open meeting under law and ordinance. And what is it? Today's pool rate increase game is another reason we ask the same question. There are items on the city agenda meetings, city meeting agendas we citizens care about. For most of us, it's not easy to stand up at this podium and speak, but we've learned it's the only place where we can have a say to anything you people do. Last Thursday, I recorded the announced Billboard Study Group meeting, including the unannounced second meeting. Arrangements were made to have it posted online for all to see on southdakota.com. For those of you who have not seen it yet, I want all to know that Rick Kiley did a great job with the official meeting. We learned a lot about the process, and for this, we citizens appreciate the work you and your board members are putting into it. What followed the official meeting was interesting and actually recorded it for history. That was what was interesting was Shauna Goldhammer and Jeff Smith continued the meeting after the media and staff and most of the audience had left. As we witnessed the board members preparing to leave, Shauna stood in front of them and proceeded to start a new 12-plus minute meeting. Everything discussed should have been part of an open discussion portion of the regular meeting so everybody could have been there to see what was going on. We learned a lot of things during that time period about which way the Billboard group was actually thinking of going and what minor details that nobody of the public really knows anything about. And everybody missed that part of it who left the room. The other question we have with that is, why wasn't one of the staff members there saying that that should have been part of the open discussion? Now look at today's earlier informational presentation in this room. On page 24 of the PDF presentation given, the Parks and Rec Department finally acknowledged holding private meetings and when. To quote something Don Kearney said to me this morning, today's park meeting was not open to the public. It was set up to not have quorums, so the public couldn't be there. How many of you were thrown into this potentially controversial decision process after 5 p.m. yesterday? None of us knew anything about what was going on up until 5 o'clock yesterday. You seem to be treated with as much disrespect as we, the public. In April, we attempted to get an understanding of state law and city ordinance after the shameful disregard shown using a phony special meeting designation. Through this naming game, we watched the administration violate the spirit, if not the letter of the law, and we have no recourse. We still stand by this violation claim, and we thank you for making it crystal clear the city administration doesn't care. We feel this administration has decided to operate in a secrecy mode as if there was a competitive advantage or something always must be hidden. This is coming from the administration claiming to be the most open in Sioux Falls history. We are going to keep pressing for openness. Since city meetings are not transcribed any longer, our little cameras will be showing up more often. When it is excluded from meetings, we will find out why, letting our viewers, including you council members, know why. Senator Franken wrote a book a few years back with a book title that we feel was written about Sioux Falls government, lies and the lying liars who tell them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dennison. Welcome.
Mayor, council members, I.L. Weiderman from Sioux Falls. Thank you for letting me speak today. First off, I'd like to say I'd like to have all the department heads tell the truth and not what you, Mayor, want them to say. Let's not bend the truth so it's not actually accurate. And when are we going to hear who's going to pay for the redoing of the siding on the events center? A lot of people from Sioux City and Omaha that I know, that I was with this last weekend, do not understand why it's being kept in secret. And then I fully agree with Mr. Danielson on these private meetings that are being held throughout the city. Whenever they want to get something done that they don't want anybody to know about, they hold a meeting where there's no quorum, so they don't have to let the public in. Getting to this swimming pool, the indoor swimming pool, as it was presented this afternoon, seems to me like it's going to be an elite pool. Most people won't be able to attend it. The lanes are going to be taken up by Snow Fox and the other elite snow teams and whoever else can afford it. Many people are afraid to attend these meetings. I myself have gotten many, many threats. I got one Friday that scared me enough that I called the police on it. And it was because of my attending some of these meetings. And then I noticed that the pastor that was just here said, "Mr. Mayor, oh my God." Thank you. And he wasn't referring to you as God.
Thank you, Mr. Weiderman. Appreciate that. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm Jerry Berg. I live at 608 East Hillview Road in Sioux Falls, or South Hillview Road. And I gave each and every one of you a handout. It starts with the Planning Commission staff report from June 3rd. It is regarding a future vote that you'll be taking on a rezoning request. The first reading is the 16th. The second reading will be July 7th. So when you go to page 4, it shows the piece of property in question. And so that's surrounded by Hillview on the bottom, which would be the west, so you'd have to turn it sideways. The north is Arrowhead Parkway, and on the east is Foss. So the Shaping Places had taken away the designation, the commercial designation of these properties, and including the one with C2, the lead property right on Hillview and Arrowhead Parkway. And everybody, the owners of that had to come back, and that's what they're requesting, to make this C2 the two pieces in question. And what I'm here to speak to is the fact that I think this is going too deep. When you go to the next page, you'll see an aerial view of what I'm talking about. Now, my house is the fourth house there, and that is about 325, 335 feet from the first piece of property, probably 350 feet from the road. And so they're going in that far. They've got a proposed plan. Well, let me back up. They own the casino, the strip along the highway, and then, of course, this. So when you go to the next page, it shows a proposed plan. And the north would be along Arrowhead Parkway. The south, of course, with buffer zone. And in all fairness, they have given me an easement on the driveway there, of which I've been using. We've lived there 38 years, so I've gotten back and forth between the neighbor's retaining wall and my back driveway, so I'm grateful for that. What's going to happen here is there's going to be their house is higher than mine, so it'll be about an 8 or so foot drop, so it'll be a lot lower than my driveway. And then, of course, you can see the proposed shared full access from Hillview down into the parking lot. Now, if you go to the next page, my coloring ability isn't all that good, so please bear with me. But you can see where there's a 17,000 square foot box store, a strip mall, a casino, which will be right against my back garage, and, of course, the proposed stormwater management area, which will then drain into the Walmart. What this is going to do for the residents on Hillview Road, first of all, the people immediately across the street, as they come and go out of that driveway, it'll be shining in their windows because it's an upslope, and those two houses are both above the road level. So in the evenings, and both have front bedrooms, in the evenings that'll be a hassle there. Another thing that is a big problem is Hillview Road is, like it said, Hillview Road, it's a lane, and it has been for the past 60 years. So what I see happening is people coming from the south, all the neighborhoods to the south, coming up Hillview Road, which they do now as a shortcut, and they will be turning on that access and driving through the parking lot of that into Foss Avenue, which goes to Walmart. So I see that being a major thoroughfare shortly after it opens up. Another thing would be the congestion of Hillview going on to Arrowhead Parkway, which it is right now. It's always a struggle to get on and off, especially when somebody's coming off of Linden Lane, which has 8 houses that it services on that street. So I'm not opposed, and I'll tell you in the next page, I'm not opposed to the development. I'm just opposed to the way that it's set up right now, and that I think there could be a better plan to alleviate what I consider to be the traffic issues that will be coming along with this. They will have to put curb and gutter in on their side of the street. The houses on the west side of the street, you know, hopefully they're got their fingers crossed that they won't have to put curb and gutter in there too. I have no idea what it'll cost to line the street if in fact that becomes an issue. And last but not least, when you go to the last page, in all fairness, having lived there all these years, I've know pretty much all the neighbors. 2 pieces of property came up for sale. And of course you can see we're right next to mine. Everything that's colored in pink is what they want to have zoned along with the plans I showed you. And that goes in, like I said, 325, 350 feet from the front end of the property. You go over to the left, and that is what I own, and with plans of putting a couple of, say, 6,000 square foot buildings there. But the difference is that I own the property below that, to the south, the 2 parcels, and then the large parcel, which in fact represent a buffer zone between me and the lady that lives in the house.
Mr. Berg, I'm going to ask you to wrap it up, please.
I'm done. So anyway, last but not least, it's 200 feet from mine and 200 to hers. So consequently, there's a 200-foot buffer as opposed to what's right next to me.
Mr. Berg, thank you so much. Folks, is there anybody else who wanted to address the council? Welcome. Scott, would you just get ready as well? Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council persons. I just want to take a minute of your time to talk about the
Sir,
proposal.
could you just
I'm sorry,
introduce
Hugh Grogan.
Thank you,
And
Hugh.
I was formerly with the County Human Services Department, and I'm a native of Sioux Falls and wanted to take a few minutes to address the proposals to change the swimming rates. As a kid, as some of the council members had noted, some of us older ones, the elderly, grew up with free swimming here in Sioux Falls. One of the real diamonds that's been in the city, and I think this is the greatest city in the world, has been the terrific job the park department has done with enabling and making sure that every kid in this city had access to swimming. That means even the poorest kids in the city. And one of the unique programs that we've got in place here, which you won't find anywhere else in South Dakota, and we don't do things like everybody else does in South Dakota. But we have a program here where people that are very, very poor are able to get free passes to have the kids go swimming. We also have a program that allows kids on marginal incomes to get reduced cost prices or passes. Those swimming passes for the kids that get free passes are for kids that are on the food stamp program. When that was set up, we tried to set up a system that was administratively very simple to identify who would be eligible. Families that are on the food stamp program have an income of no more than 130% of the federal poverty guidelines. You're talking about the kids that are getting the backpack programs. You're talking about the kids that are eating the school lunches, that are going to the summer programs. You're talking about families that don't have enough money to feed their kids. And we're looking at doing away, or at least the possibility of doing away with that program. In the proposal, we would still have reduced cost program, but that program would still be unaffordable for those families that are the poorest. And as I said that, we talked this afternoon, or there was talk this afternoon about 52% of the participants in the swimming pass program were on the free swimming pass, as I understood it. And those are kids from families that are very, very poor. And the point I would like to make is that this program serves the kids in the community and the poorest kids in the community. We have all kinds of ways that we subsidize other programs and other activities, and this is one that I don't think that we can afford to lose. It provides a healthy outlet for kids. It gets kids involved in swimming, which is healthy exercise. We get kids with swimming lessons, and we keep kids off the street and out of trouble. If we're doing that, then we don't need to use the monies we would save to hire additional police officers or other support systems. And so I would ask you to consider as you wrestle with this, because I know that it's going to be a major thing that you're going to be dealing with over the next couple of weeks, to at least consider setting aside time for at least a workshop or a public input where some of the families could come in at a time that allows for more time than just the public hearings would allow. Thank you.
Ms. Grogan, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Welcome, Scott.
Scott Erisman, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I know the mayor told me to get ready over here. So I'll just say this briefly to start out with. I didn't know we were on a time constraint here at these city council meetings. Every director in this room is getting paid to be here. Every single counselor is getting paid to be here, and you are getting paid to be here, Mayor. And I don't believe we're on any time constraints, and I actually believe the 5-minute input is a bunch of baloney. So I will move on to something else. For the pool thing, I am very proud of my city council, every single one of you today. I have never, at the informational meeting, the pros and cons were amazing. I have never been so proud in my life. You guys displayed the greatest honor about this. And I really believe that you need to take your due diligence in handling this. I know that Tracy Turbeck believes that you should pound this through and get it done right away, but I don't believe that. The mayor himself said about the bus passes that the council didn't take their due diligence. Take your due diligence on the pool rates. Study this further. Study it hard. Study it and make sure it's right. I agree with you and disagree with you on many points you guys made today, and it was a wonderful discussion. And I'm not going to say that kids should get things for free or that rates shouldn't increase. But that is a big discussion you guys need to have, and this is not something that you guys should be put on the spot on. As for the meetings, I found out about this on Friday from someone who was in a subcommittee meeting. Or Saturday, I should say, clarify, Saturday. Talked to some city councilors. They had no idea about this. Why are we having subcommittee meetings and making these kind of decisions in them in private where the public is not able to come and attend and at least watch? as Bruce Danielson was up here talking about that, Mr. Kearney, the parks director over here, was laughing. This is a guy who makes over $100,000 a year for our city to run our parks, and he does a fine job. But he's laughing about the fact that we're having private meetings. I don't think it's funny. I think everything should be in the open in this town. And you guys proved it when you're in your discussion today, how much you were left out on the decisions about a pool. We have spent hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars on projects that don't help the quality of life in our community, and we've ramrodded them through, and nobody has blinked an eye. But for some reason, all of a sudden, when we have secret meetings about pool rate increases, and people ask questions, oh, we don't need to be asking questions, we need to just ramrod this through, and then we laugh about it. That's improper. That's not right. And I hope you guys have the courage to say, no, we're going to agree with these rate increases, and we are going to have more meetings, and we're going to talk about this. We have till next year. The budget doesn't go into effect for a long time. You have plenty of time to sit down and have a discussion about this. I'm going to finish by saying about a story that was in the Argus Leader this Sunday. I'm very proud to say that I was the one that helped get that story done. Patrick Warren, Assistant Department, Fire Department. Patrick contacted me several months ago and wanted to talk. I was very reluctant. I read in the news stories of why Patrick was fired, and it bothered me. I sat for 2.5 hours and listened to Patrick's side of the story. There's two things I took from listening to Patrick. For one, I said, you need to contact the media, and they need to expose this. Number two, I took from the fact that the city is not doing their due diligence in helping people with mental illness. People with mental illness, and I have many friends that have suffered from it, and I had a best friend that died from it. And I can tell you that they're not self-reporting. Many people who have mental illness are not going to go to their supervisor and say, I'm crazy. I'm sorry, that's just not how it happens. And so the city needs to do a better job with that. Secondly, there was something more that came out of my talk with Patrick. He saved the city thousands of dollars watching our fire chief. That's kind of his job. They have 3 assistant chiefs, as I understand. They all have their duties. And Patrick was very good at watching what our chief did. You know, a check and balance. I'm not saying he was trying to get Jim Sedaris in trouble, but he was a check and balance. And he caught Jim several times and corrected things. And I really believe that these kind of employees should be honored, these kind of employees should be protected, and these kind of employees need to be respected, and we need to do more for every city employee. I don't care if they mow a lawn or they're assistant fire chief. We need to do more as a city, helping our city employees excel and do great things. And, you know, my heart goes out to Patrick. I feel horrible for him. Fortunately enough, he's a veteran and he's getting the benefits that he can. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate that. Folks, would anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
My name is Jackie Eilertson. I live on South Norton Avenue, and I'm here to give you my comments on the proposed closing of Duluth Avenue from 39th Street to 41st Street.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Point of order. That one is on the agenda.
Yeah.
You can wait.
Jackie,
wait.
what happens is that if it's a item that's on the agenda later on, we'd ask you to hold your comments until that time. Then it's more relevant to the discussion at that time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, any other items that are not on the agenda, just come on forward. Anybody? Thank you. Yes, welcome. Folks, is there anybody else? Just if you could just be ready, we'd appreciate that. Welcome.
James Eisbrand, Sioux Falls. I didn't realize I was going to have to bring popcorn to these meetings. They're getting interesting. You should do like Ace Hardware and give out free popcorn. I just want to thank the council and your staff for bringing up this debate about the pool and the increase. Something's not working. When I graduated from Washington High School in 1980, my father used to live on West 36th Street, just down from Oscar Howe, and they built Keene Park. Well, as far as I know, it's 2015, and the only pool west of I-29 is Keene Park. So whatever you got to do, you know, I don't know if you're raising rates because of overhead or what, but I saw what Kello showed there, you know, statewide comparison of what the rates would be. I think you have to do something. I mean, it's probably long overdue, and I don't, and I appreciate Councilor Anderson, the president of your council, saying that, he's worried about a certain segment being ruled out and not being able to utilize our pools. I don't think this council or your staff would let that happen. And as far as, my past, I used to work for Sioux Falls Transit. I worked for Mayor White, Hanson, Munson, and I know you, Mr. Mayor. And there's always accusations about private meetings. As long as you get the people's work done and you try to be transparent, that's all that matters. I mean, it's politics. I'm up here today to lobby for whatever you can do to get sidewalks to George McGovern, to New Tech High School. My son's going to be a senior there, and there hasn't been a sidewalk from Madison to Central, the CTE or New Tech. I was told that because McGovern's new, we're waiting for development, it's like, that's when the sidewalks will come. Well, I can go out to the Pentagon, I can go out and see the nice facilities out there, and there's sidewalks everywhere. I'm just curious, your priorities. It's like the situation now with the pools, it's like last week, or last time I was here, you talked about transit. It's like, I can't tell you how many meetings I went to the Homeless Coalition and had to hear Kathy Bexelbauer say, we need more free homeless passes. Well, in a perfect world, we can do things like that. Just like the swimming, if we can figure out a way to raise the rates and not affect the certain segment and get those kids there, I think you can do it. I have my trust in you folks, and I encourage you to keep the strong debate and figure this out. And don't worry about the people in the audience that say they're having secret meetings, they're all upset. Yeah, I've seen it for 30 years. What do you do about it? You just do your best every day, and I appreciate all the work you do. And like I said, build a pool west of I-29, somewhere in that northwest district. Mr. Karski can take care of that, maybe. I'd be happy. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, James. Appreciate that.
Also, one more thing.
Yes, sir.
A long time ago, Hillary Clinton says it takes a village. Well, I used to take advantage of that program, where I got reduced rates for swimming passes, and I have 5 boys. And to this day, I have 2 boys, one at Keene, one at Terrace Park, that are lifeguards. And they took their WSI so they could learn to swim, so they could make a little more money and help the kids. Sometimes, when you come up here and talk about complaints or ideas, sometimes you have to take action. And my action is I encourage my kids to help out the situation. You're short on lifeguards, you're short on teachers. My kids are trying to do what they can to help these disadvantaged children that need to come swimming. And like I said, I trust that you'll get it done.
Thank you, James. Folks, is there anybody else? Mr. Dennison, you already had the opportunity, sir. I apologize.
According to Robert's rules, I can come back because there are other people that have been between.
No, Mr. Dennison, the way it's set up.
One thing that I would like to say before
Mr. Dennison, I apologize.
Kyle Wiederman has been up here and has also proven with the
Mr. Dennison,
system.
I apologize. The way that it's set up is not to create a debate situation. It's an opportunity for folks to come up.
It's exactly
that
right.
Opportunity.
And one of the things that you specialize in is holding back on debate. So thank you very much.
Mr. Widerman,
Mr. Mayor,
I apologize, sir.
Mr.
Widerman, I apologize, sir.
Are you going to follow Robert's Rules of Order or not?
Mr. Widerman, folks, we truly do try to have a very open discussion here. The council really does value these discussions. They do. But they want it done in a professional way. They want to respect the comments that are relayed. We don't allow cheering. We don't allow booing. It's a respectful process. But it's also one that is not supposed to be a debate process where all of a sudden somebody says something and then somebody else wants an opportunity to come up and now debate that again and then do it again and again. We've been doing it this way ever since I was elected, and they were doing it before that, whether it was Mayor Munson or the prior mayor before that. So we're not doing anything new, folks. We're just trying to be respectful, and we are proud of the process here. And it's not easy. We are trying to be open. We are trying to be transparent, and we are truly trying to give you the opportunity to engage these people that, yes, do get paid, but honestly, they don't get paid much when you consider the amount of hours that these counselors put in. So again, I apologize, but we are going to respect the process, whether I'm the mayor or whether I'm not the mayor, and whether these are your counselors or whether they're not. That's just the way we're going to do it. And my gut says 99.9% of the people of Sioux Falls are going to cheer us on and support us along the way. Is there anybody else who wants to engage the council that hasn't already spoken? Thank you. Councilor Staggers had two items that he wanted to cover. The first one is on economic development from the consent agenda, and it's on core facade revitalization. Councilor Staggers, your questions, please.
Yes. Some of the comments that were made by the audience this evening talked about the City Council doing due diligence. Yes, and I think this is one area where we have to do due diligence and also establish priorities. What we have here is $80,000 of taxpayer money going to a private business to have say over their private facade. I think many people in Sioux Falls would say, this is one of the lowest priorities we can have. Giving $80,000 worth of taxpayer money to private business, we could use that $80,000 for the pools or whatever. So I would encourage my colleagues on the council here to vote down this $80,000. We can spend this on something more worthwhile here in Sioux Falls.
Councilor Staggers, thank you. Council, is there a motion on this item?
Move to approve or
Second, Karski.
It's been a motion to approve this item. It has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Urbanbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
That is passed 7-1. Councilor Staggers also had another item he wanted to discuss. It involves the Aquatic Center and our Parks and Rec team. Councilor Staggers?
Yes, $47,800. And Don, I think, is going to explain what this agreement's all about.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Don Kearney with Parks and Recreation. Today I actually have a couple people that know a little more about this than I do, and that is Nate Pearson. Nate is with Tegra. They are our owners' representatives as part of the Indoor Aquatic Center project at Spellerberg. And we also have Lance Weatherly. Lance is with the City Engineering Department, is also a project manager on that. And so I'd like Nate to come up and just explain what that contract consists of. Nate?
Nate, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, here through members of the council, council member Staggers, that contract is for commissioning of the Indoor Aquatic Center, and commissioning is really represented by startup of the mechanical and electrical systems. So we hire a third-party independent consultant who are our engineers to calibrate and verify that the design is actually installed into the building.
Now, I understand that this is part of being LEED certified. Is that correct?
LEED certified?
Mm-hmm.
This gets us 2 points towards LEED certification. This contract does not, it's not about getting the actual certification. It's about just the commissioning and the startup of the mechanical and electrical systems. Okay. It is part of LEED, but it doesn't confirm that we'll achieve LEED.
And also, is this $47,800 part of the original cost that was given the City Council on how much the pool would cost?
Yes, that's correct. It is not above and beyond any costs you've ever seen or that have been presented before you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Nate, thank you very much. Councilor Staggers, thank you very much. Council, would anybody want to make a motion on this item?
Move to
Thank you. Councilor Rolfing's made a motion to approve this item, second by Councilor Karski. Roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Urbanbach? Yes. Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Councilor Anderson Jr. had an item he wanted to discuss. It was Memorandum of Understanding number 3. Councilor Anderson Jr.
Last week we had a news conference talking about the new new foundation park, and I believe it's an amazing opportunity for our city to help provide even more jobs, not only for just the city, but for Minnehaha County and the region. And I thought it would be a good time to just let the public know again what is actually happening up there. So I've asked Darren Smith to come up and give us a quick explanation.
Good evening, Darren Smith, Director of Community Development. Councilor Anderson Jr., you did a great job. You said everything I was going to say the first 30 or 45 seconds there, so I won't repeat that. The item in front of you tonight is seeking your approval of a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, between the state of South Dakota, the City of Sioux Falls, Sioux Falls Development Foundation, and Forward Sioux Falls. And it is related to a very exciting announcement that took place last week, where we learned that the Sioux Falls Development Foundation will be moving forward in pursuing the acquisition of 800 plus contiguous acres just north and west of where Interstates 29 and 90 intersect. It's a great opportunity for our community, the region, and the entire state of South Dakota in terms of economic development. Council members have been briefed along the way over a several-month period. As we all learned more, we brought you into the fold and again briefed you recently. So I think you know a lot of the details. But again, the MOU in front of you tonight is a 5-page document, and the City of Sioux Falls section is literally one paragraph in the 5 pages. I'll just read that paragraph quickly. The Sioux Falls Development Foundation and the City of Sioux Falls shall enter into a pre-annexation agreement pursuant to South Dakota Codified Law, Chapter 9-4-1.1. The pre-annexation agreement will establish the timelines and conditions for the eventual annexation of the property to be known as Foundation Park, and for provision of infrastructure, including but not limited to water, streets, and sewer. The pre-annexation agreement shall be subject to adoption by a resolution of the City Council. Subject to the terms of the pre-annexation agreement, the Sioux Falls Development Foundation shall then submit a voluntary petition for annexation to the City of Sioux Falls, which shall conform to the requirements of annexation pursuant to South Dakota Codified Law, Chapter 9-4, and of course that would need to be approved by the City Council as well. So those are the next steps. Tonight, Mike Cooper is here, Director of Planning and Building Services. If there are questions related to the pre-annexation or annexation process, Mark Cotter, Director of Public Works, is here. If there are questions related to the infrastructure that's referenced here and what that means for us potentially going forward. Jim Sukup, a board member with the Sioux Falls Development Foundation, is here to take any questions on behalf of that group. Slater Barr and Dean Dezek, President and Vice President of the Sioux Falls Development Foundation, are on business trips in different locations, so unfortunately they're not with us tonight, but between Jim and the rest of us, I'm confident we can answer your questions.
Councilor, yes, Councilor Stagers.
Yes, Darren, as you think about this more and more, this memorandum, this is the beginning of the City of Sioux Falls probably spending millions and millions of dollars. Do we have any estimate of how much the City of Sioux Falls is going to spend to develop this park?
Well, Councilor Stagers, the way I would characterize this is with the pre-annexation agreement and definitely the annexation process for this property, this area will really develop just like every other new area in Sioux Falls always has historically. So there's really nothing different about that. But there's a lot of parties involved in pursuing this and taking a lot of risk, most of which, frankly, is on the other parties and not the city. But in being a good party, we need to deliver infrastructure to support development. Again, just like we have throughout our history on the edges of town all over Sioux Falls, the infrastructure will not go in until it's warranted by appropriate development. So when there's development that takes place up there, we will make those decisions in partnership with the Development Foundation in terms of the streets, the sewer, the water, and so forth. But the city will always be in control of those decisions.
Once again, my understanding is that the City of Sioux Falls is going to be responsible for all this infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And that's not necessarily the case when we talk about other development. All I'm asking is, we should have some kind of estimate how much we're going to spend.
Well, Counselor, if I could, that will be
I'm not
part of
saying
the
exact figure or anything like
Right.
that, but
Yeah.
we should have an estimate.
Well, as we work through the pre-annexation agreement and the annexation process, we will know that. But I do want to correct one thing where you stated that the city will be responsible for this infrastructure, unlike other developments in the past. That's just not accurate. That's not correct. The infrastructure here will be put in place as development warrants, just like we always have. And I would remind the council, I think you know this, but there's two sides of the ledger here. Yes, there is the investment with street, sewer, and water in the city part, but of course, when development takes place, there's platting fees that come back in to replenish those funds so we can build those streets. And then there's cost recoveries, of course, along with platting fees for the sewer and water. So there's an investment made. Many of those dollars are also recovered for future investments as well. And Mark Cotter, I'm sure, would be happy to speak to that.
Yeah, if we could just get some kind of figure on how much we're going to be spending. I mean, I think we're entitled to that before we, go ahead and vote on this. I mean, my preference is to vote for this, but I would certainly like to know some kind of number.
Councilor
It's not
Sagers,
free.
there is no figure. I think Darren's explained that twice. Depending on the type of involvement, will determine the amount of infrastructure that goes there. For example, if it's 10 stores versus one big store, it's going to be a different type of investment that the city makes. And because that's not been determined yet, you can't get a figure. I mean, Mark, you could give an estimate on what it costs to build a mile of road, what it costs to build a mile of sanitary sewer line, what it costs to build a mile of lights. But that's not going to be, there's no estimate to be made here in terms of what Foundation Park will ultimately cost the city. And I think Darren's tried to explain that to you now twice.
Well, I think that might be the case, that it's hard to know, and I agree with that. But just coming in blank with nothing to tell us how much this could possibly cost.
Well,
it is going to cost millions.
But if I can, this MOU really commits the city to nothing more than entering into discussions and negotiations for a pre-annexation agreement and then annexation. So we will learn all of those things through that process, and you retain the right every step of the way to vote as you wish.
Councilor Karski?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but whenever we annex property, we don't ever get any estimates on any infrastructure or anything like that, do we? On any development?
I'll defer to Mike Cooper on that to make sure we give you the best answer.
Mike Cooper, Planning and Building Services. I think the easiest way for me to explain what's going on is that there's a three-step process. And in order for us to go to the next step, which is the pre-annexation agreement, which will provide some of the information that's being asked, we need your commitment to do the MOU tonight. So it's a step-by-step process. We can only take it one step at a time. And yes, when we annex property, we do make estimates of what the impact will be on the property owner, as well as what commitment needs to be from the city to get services to the property. And that will come through the next two phases of this process.
Thank you.
Just like it always does.
Move to approve, Karski.
Second, Erpenbach.
Then a motion to approve this item has been seconded. Councilor Erickson.
I just had one couple questions. Only, yes, please. Whoever wants to answer them. I'm just curious as far as the timeline as for the next steps, because they did announce that the first deal has been inked. We had the opportunity to actually sit and discuss with the folks that are coming to town, and it was very interesting. They're very generic and very vanilla, and I thought, gosh, who are these people? They're not saying anything. Well, we just though then learned that this is the new company coming to town, so it was very exciting to kind of chat with them a little bit. So my questions are: when is that going to take place? When will they start that? What's the timeline that we're looking at right now?
Yeah, well, thank you for asking that. And in the MOU that you have in front of you on page 2, it actually lays out very specifically the Sioux Falls Development Foundation's timeline. They've actually already made some purchases. They have contract for deeds in place that they've executed also. And then they have future pieces that they'll be purchasing in the coming months. And so this MOU is symbolic in a lot of ways for us. It's very important for the Development Foundation because it triggers the releasing of the state funds that the Ready Board approved for their loan. and the Sioux Falls Development Foundation cannot follow through and execute the future purchase agreements this summer and close on those properties. And that's a big problem for them. So we do need to approve the MOU if you're supportive of that, and then very quickly start the pre-annexation discussions and get that agreement in front of you as well.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Jameson.
Oh, well, thank you. With the I just can't help myself but say it. The great announcement that we had the other day with the Development Foundation and everybody there, we were all there. I just want to make sure it's clear. I understand it from you. You just said it. None of that's going to happen unless we agree to this MOU. It hinges on the council's action tonight, right?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Kylie,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Thank you. Folks, we're not going to move on to our regular agenda.
Item 12, special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Osher Lifelong Learning Institute to be operated in the CNA Building Communication Room, 101 South Reed, and the 8th and Railroad Shopping Center, Back Dock and Patio, 401 East 8th Street, for a science happy hour on June 12, 2015, and to authorize publication of the notice on 5/29/15 to set the hearing date.
Good evening, Jamie Palmer with Licensing. This item is a special one-day request like Denise read, and it is on the agenda in this manner because it was received late, but not late enough that I couldn't still accommodate it by publishing the notice first and still allowing for that 10 days in between publication and your vote. So I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Jamie. Council?
Move approval, Rolfing.
Thank you, Councilor.
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Rolfing made the first, and Councilor Jameson made the second. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Kylie,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 13.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by clarifying the penalties for violations of utility ordinances.
Thank you. Diane Best, representing Public Works. This ordinance change before you pertains to City Ordinance 40.999. This city ordinance lists the code provisions for which civil penalties may apply. The proposal is to amend the very first item in the list, which is utilities. The existing ordinance lists utilities, but includes only Chapter 50 for the ordinances, for the code provisions for which civil penalties may apply. The proposal would add Chapters 51, 52, and part of 53. Adding these chapters provides for penalties for violations like wasting water, lawn water restrictions, improper use of sump pumps, and similar utility-related matters. Civil penalties previously applied. In the recent recodification of these chapters, civil penalties were not included. This corrects that oversight. And I would note that adding civil penalties back in, again, adds another tool in the toolbox of means to curb these improper conduct. It's still the primary means of working through these types of violations is awareness and education, and this is just another tool in the toolbox for those continued violations or willful violations.
Diane, thank you. Folks, this is a second reading. Did anybody want to speak to this item? Councilors? Councilor Staggers?
Yes. Diane, can you tell us what the penalty is for putting water on your sidewalk under this new ordinance?
Lawn watering restrictions, first offense would be $100.
Okay, and that's also true for this putting the water on the sidewalk? Because we have an ordinance.
It would be, there's a wasting water provision.
That would be under wasting then.
It would be wasting water, and that would be the $100 provision.
Okay.
But again, this is not a change recommended to garner revenue for somebody that makes a mistake and inadvertently one time puts water someplace that they shouldn't. It is about curbing continued use. The first means of addressing it would be to educate the person involved, make them aware that it is a violation, and then if there's a continued problem, to go ahead with the code violation process.
And then second violation be 200 and then 300. Is that fair to say?
Right.
Okay.
The third violation within 12 months would be a $300 fine.
Okay.
Council, a motion?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second,
And a motion to approve this item has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson, Erickson, Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Kylie,
yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers.
Councilor Staggers, how did you vote, sir?
No.
No. 7-1. That is passed. Item 14.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, repealing rebates for washing machine purchases.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Darren Fries, Water Program Coordinator. Jessica Lanchins, my partner, she's the Sustainability Coordinator for the City of Sioux Falls. Washing machines have had a good run. We've been doing it for 12 years. Go ahead. We've got communities that are very upfront in their conservation efforts. Denver, Colorado started their program after we did. They have since ended it before we have. We've got other communities throughout the Midwest who are not finding it feasible to start the washing machine rebate programs. Go ahead. The washing machine rebate program, the intention was to reduce the purchase cost of high-efficiency machines. That first priority has been met. The high-efficiency machines are less expensive. The water-conserving technology has become less expensive. The average cost of the machines that we are rebating has dropped by $300, which is far less than the $125 rebate. We wanted to reduce the cost difference between the high-efficient and the non-efficient machines. That has also been in place. The machines used to be $550 apart, and now they're within $100 of a high-efficient and a non-efficient machine. And we also wanted to increase the number of high-efficient machines purchased in Sioux Falls. We were rebating, the machines purchased were 5 to 30%. Now those machines aren't being sold at near the rate, and 80% of the models available in Sioux Falls, they're readily available at 80%. And we're also starting to see people rebating or applying for rebates for machines that are already high efficient, which there again would lower our cost to conservation ratio. We're spending more money than we're actually getting back in the conservation methods. So we would like to repeal the rebates for the washing machine purchases. And I'd be open for any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. Folks, this is a second reading. Again, you have the opportunity to engage the council on this topic. Anybody? Councilors?
Move to approve, Erickson.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Erickson has made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. If no questions, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 15.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of said city by changing a street name, Powder House Road and South Dakota Highway 11 to Veterans Parkway.
Good evening. Jeff Delories from the Engineering Division of Public Works. This ordinance proposes to change the street name of Powder House Road in South Dakota Highway 11 to Veterans Parkway. The portion of Powder House Road is from Madison Street south to Arrowhead Parkway. The portion of South Dakota Highway 11 is from Arrowhead Parkway south to 57th Street. To rename a public street, the City Ordinance 30.062 requires a petition signed by at least 60% of the number of owners abutting the portion of the street to be renamed. There are 26 property owners that own 50 properties abutting these portions of Powder House Road and South Dakota Highway 11. These 26 owners were sent an acknowledgement of the proposed street name change. If the property owner supports the renaming, they sign the acknowledgement and return it to the city. We received 16 of 26 acknowledgements in support, which is 62%, and makes it a valid application. The actual other 10 acknowledgements, we had no response. The properties on the east side of South Dakota Highway 11 between Arrowhead Parkway and 26th Street abut a frontage road named Powder House Road. Since they do not abut South Dakota Highway 11 and will continue to be addressed off of Powder House Road, they will only be notified of the proposed name change. The Street Naming Committee has reviewed this request and is in support of the change.
Thank you so much, Jeff. This is a first reading, folks, so you don't have the opportunity to engage the council. Councilors, Councilor Rolfing.
I would just like to urge people, my fellow councilors, to support this ordinance change or the renaming of South Dakota 11 and part of Powder House Road to Veterans Memorial or Veterans Parkway, as this is also going to, as Highway 100 is extended in a horseshoe type road all the way around the southern edge of Sioux Falls, will continue then to be named Veterans Parkway. And so it'll be a very good way for us to honor our veterans and also to distinguish them with this kind of road.
Councilor, did you want to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, July 7th for this item?
Love to.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Kiley. Thank you. Councilor Anderson Jr., did you have a comment?
Yes, actually. I wasn't raising my hand.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
No, it was a thought. And the thought is, Councilor Rolfing, thank you. It's a great way to validate those who serve this country.
Thank you, Councilor. Appreciate it.
I believe it.
A roll call vote, please.
Council
and
members,
what we're doing is we're setting the date of hearing here, folks. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson? Yes. Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 16.
A resolution vacating the South Duluth Avenue right-of-way from the south right-of-way line of West 39th Street to the north right-of-way line of West 41st Street.
This resolution proposes to vacate South Duluth Avenue from south right-of-way line of West 39th Street to the north right-of-way line of West 41st Street. This petition was submitted on behalf of Billion Motors. The petitioner has complied with our street vacation policy. If the right-of-way is vacated, a utility easement will be maintained for public and private utilities on the vacated right-of-way. Engineering does not object to the proposed vacation from an infrastructure or traffic standpoint. A neighborhood meeting was held for the proposed vacation on June 3rd, and it was attended by approximately 12 to 15 neighbors. A representative of the petitioner is present tonight to answer any questions you may have. I also have Heath Hofteser here, our traffic engineer, to talk about some traffic counts that he's done in the neighborhood if you have any of those type of questions. And as you're well aware, there's some neighbors that I think are here to talk to this too.
Jeff, thank you. Folks, this is an opportunity for you to engage the council on this topic if you're interested. Did anybody want to engage the council? Please come forth, please. Thank you.
My name is Jackie Eilertson. I live on South Norton Avenue. One of my main concerns, if Duluth Avenue is closed, that the traffic will either have to go over to Minnesota Avenue or to my street, the next one over on South Norton Avenue. Duluth is a wider street by about 6 feet, so it handles the traffic better with still allowing for parking for the residents there. If it comes over onto Norton Avenue, just besides being extra traffic, I'm afraid in the future we might lose our parking. God forbid that ever want to widen the street. Billion also does have a driveway proposed to open onto Norton Avenue there, which again would add more traffic to that street. That's about all, except I do know when I bought into that neighborhood, I knew it was close to businesses and I understood that. But I think with their rezoning, going 2 full blocks from 41st to 39th is going too far into an established neighborhood. That's about all. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you, Jackie. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council on this topic? Very good. Welcome.
Thank you, David Billion from Sioux Falls. I'm sympathetic to those that are on Norton. I was on 39th and Norton tonight. There was a family that had a pool out, and I went and spoke to them, and they felt, well, these people have bought the property. They can do what they want with it. And I said, if you think about how that's going to affect your neighborhood, I had about 86 trees cut down in my backyard. There was a drainage off of Cliff Avenue. There's a creek bed that flowed off of my backyard into the Big Sioux River. They cut 86 trees down, and my house has never been the same. I get light coming off of Cliff Avenue. I get noise coming off of Cliff Avenue that I never had before. So I'm very sympathetic, that there's no buffer. Typically in a development site, there's a buffer where there's multifamily. There's, a proper way of buffering from a commercial standpoint as opposed to just having commercial and residential right next to it. I was talking with these people that were on it'd be the southwest corner of 39th and Norton, and a gentleman from across the street came over. And I said, are you, aware of what's going on? And he said, yes, I am. I said, how did you feel about it? He said, I don't feel very good about it. He said, and I said, you're going to hear noise from the PA system, paging salespeople. You're going to be hearing and seeing traffic noise off of 41st in Minnesota. There are a huge number of old growth trees down Morton that have a beautiful canopy. I took a video of it. It'll never be the same. It will change and impact that neighborhood and the residents, such as this lady is describing her concern. I think that, just because you own it means that you can redevelop, I don't think is the right attitude. I think, that it could still be very well maintained as a neighborhood, especially with the proximity to the park. The employees will also be parking, I'm sure, on Norton, and will be taking up an awful lot of the space that they might want their friends or relatives to park along Norton. So I think he put some consideration into not doing this development. I think that it's, just a sign that, if it does happen, is there going to be water problems? Is there going to be light distortion? Is there going to be noise distortion? I lived with it, where I had a nice private buffer of trees. The people in my neighborhood north of the creek bed fought it and won. They're not going to have their trees removed in the creek bed that flows into the Big Sioux River. A lot of people are remodeling and renovating and taking very good care of that. So I would consider for all of you to consider that this may not be the best use to have commercial property right next to residential. I know many of the people complained. They complained to me personally that lived on the street where all of our employees, on Duluth, that will be vacated. Many of those people complained very regularly about having employees park on that. Now it's just going to move it over. It doesn't need to happen. Their sales have been in the top 10 in the nation with the property that they currently have. It doesn't need to be developed to hinder their business.
Mr. Brilliant, thank you. Folks, did anybody else want to engage the council on this topic? Councilors? Councilor Anderson Jr.?
Mr. Billion, could I have you come back up, please?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a development that you are requesting, correct?
This is not. No, there are two David Billions. I am not the one requesting this. So, yes.
Councilor Bach, did you have any follow-up? Councilor Bach?
Not with Mr. Billion, but I do have some questions. Mr. Cooper and I have had conversation, and Jim, if you would help me with that map, that would be awesome. I did attend the neighborhood meeting and spoke at length with Mrs. Eilertz and some other folks that day. I do have some pretty significant concerns for the folks in the neighborhood and for this development. I first wanted to talk just briefly about December of 2014 in a planning session or a zoning change that we made as a city council. We changed the zoning at 41st and Holly, and at that time we talked about, if you can pull up 41st and Holly, you see that green area there on the map. That green area is Jefferson Park. If you look at the street on the other side of Jefferson Park is 40th. So Jefferson sits between 40th and 41st, and there's commercial area along 41st, as you can see. And then, Jim, if you'll just slide that map so that we can see going to the east, we're going to head toward Minnesota Avenue, and I want you to see how the red kind of goes up and down, up and down, up and down, a little bit. Okay, stop right there. That's good. Thank you. And then you'll see, if you watch that going up and down, you'll see that it never crosses 40th Street, or what would be 40th Street if the street went through in that area. And so my concern is, and I talked to Diane DeCoyers in that meeting in December about that, and the comments that she made about the zoning we were changing was that in this case, we would not go any farther north from 41st Street than the line at Jefferson Park, so that would be 40th Street. This proposal puts that line now at 39th Street, a full another block up away from 41st Street. So I realize that we're talking about traffic tonight, but really we're starting a whole larger conversation. And so I've asked Mr. Cooper if you would talk just a little bit about that idea. I'm not excited about the street vacation, and I assume that I probably don't have the votes for it, but I need for us to understand that red line along 41st Street, where it crosses over to yellow, those are houses. And these are neighborhoods, and these are people that have lived there for years and years. And so I just want us to be aware that I want to know if there's a strategy. One, this is a question I asked in December, and it's on video. Is there a strategy for this, and do we have a guideline for where this commercial property is going to be encroaching into residential areas outside of 41st Street? So would you help me with that, Mr. Cooper?
Sure. You want to put my slides up? Yes, we do have a strategy. I have, I think, 4 slides to join in the conversation. As we look at a corridor like 41st Street, we can talk about the commercial frontage and then how that's going to encroach into those residential areas. So in the case of 41st and Holly, there was a city park there, which was an obvious dividing line between how far north commercial would go. So this first slide that I have is kind of how I approach this item. When it first came to me to talk about, is this something that you think would be feasible, that you could look at and support? What's your opinion about this idea of converting that area west of Duluth into basically a parking lot for both display of vehicles as well as for employee parking? So this map shows in the purple, the different commercial zoning districts in the 4 corners of 41st and Minnesota, which, as we know, is one of the busiest intersections that we have in the city of Sioux Falls. And then as you go out to those other colors, you have the different residential areas. So what I'm looking at this is not as a corridor, but as an intersection. So the strategy that we have adopted with our Shape Sioux Falls comprehensive plan is that we look at employment areas. And we have a category called the Sub-Regional Employment Center, which is based on the configuration of roadways. So in this case, if we were planning 41st in Minnesota as a brand new development area, which obviously we're not, we would look at this and it would qualify with this green circle as a sub-regional employment center because of the classification of Minnesota Avenue, 41st Street, and then as you go south, you're getting close to I-229. So with this, what we would like to do is move the major intersections to the edge of this circle. So on the right-hand side, we have Phillips Avenue, which is signalized. On the north side, we have 37th Street, which is signalized. On the west side, we have Norton Avenue, which is signalized. And then on the south side, we have 49th Street that we're working on with the DOT to hopefully someday become a signalized intersection. So that's the starting point for me as the street configuration. So the idea is, as we look at our future traffic plan, which we're doing now, this intersection is going to become more and more congested. And so those intersections are going to become more and more difficult to get in and out of over time. And some of them are more difficult even now. So that is really what helps us determine what's the appropriate land use when you have these major intersections farther off from the corner. So then the next thing that I look at within the circle of influence would be that with a sub-regional employment center, you could say that everything within that circle could potentially become non-residential. Doesn't mean it has to be, doesn't mean it's going to be, but it means it could be. So I could make the argument that Norton Avenue is going to continue to be the major signalized intersection, and that Duluth over time is going to become more and more congested. And so there's a benefit to closing off Duluth and moving the traffic over to the signalized intersection. As we heard previously testimony, we have had complaints over the years of employee parking on Duluth from those neighbors. And so one of the purposes of this vacation and the potential expansion of the car lot would be to provide a place for employees to park off the street. So is there a benefit to the neighborhood of allowing this to happen? So those are kind of the pros and cons that I look at in terms of the big picture of this intersection. I'm not looking at the strip of 41st Street, I'm looking at this future intersection and imagine what this is going to be like in 5, 10, 20 years from now in terms of traffic. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think that is going to continue to be a transition area. Ace Hardware, east of Minnesota Avenue, has gradually purchased more houses. We've vacated streets on that side. So I just see that trend continuing in this area in the future.
Thank you, Mike.
If
yes,
I might,
Councilor,
one more question. If I could just, thank you, Mike. That's the conversation we need to be real about. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do I have? Okay. The next thing that I look at, I'm sorry, I should have continued on. How can we, if this does go forward, because as you know, there is also a rezoning petition pending action on the street vacation. So if this did go forward, how could we make this fit the neighborhood the best way? The parking lot would allow cars to be taken off of Duluth Avenue in terms of employee parking. With our Shape Places zoning ordinance, there are significant buffer yard requirements that would have to be followed. Storm drainage improvements would have to be made in accordance with engineering standards. And so this concept shows you what those buffer yards would potentially look like. And then I think the next slide, is there one more? Again, if you imagine the example of the Walgreens at 26th and east of Minnesota Avenue. In that case, the neighborhood, instead of looking at front yards of houses, they're looking basically at this landscape berm. And I think it's turned out pretty well over the years. So the vision of this buffer yard would be something similar to that, where the cars are hidden from view with this landscape buffer yard. So again, is that something that could make the neighborhood work pretty well? Yes, it could. But that's a decision that we have to make as we go forward with this. And
Councilor Buck.
I'm sorry,
So,
I'll stop, Mayor.
no, so stay there, Mike. I don't think this is the right day to do it, but would it be appropriate when we do the zoning change to require that there be no parking on the east side of Norton between 39th and 41st?
Mayor, if I could, that would be, yes, that would be part of the discussion that we would bring to you with the staff recommendation.
Right, okay. And then if I might, Mr. Mayor, if Heath Hofteaser could give us numbers on those two streets, the numbers of traffic. I know that he's done some significant studies there, and then I would be quiet. Thank you.
Counselor, you want that tonight, or do you want that?
I would like it tonight. We're voting
Heath.
tonight, sir.
Counselor Buck is curious about the traffic numbers, projected traffic numbers.
Heath, you kind of sorted out who was going to Lewis and who's going to Billion and who's driving past the park and all those kinds of things. Can you tell us some of those numbers?
Yep. We had some initial traffic counts in the neighborhood, and then based on Heath Hoft, he's our principal traffic engineer for the City of Sioux Falls, and then based on some of the comments that we heard in the public meeting last week on the vacation, we took some additional counts out in the area, in the neighborhood. The first, I think the key critical count for everybody to think about is Duluth Avenue itself between 39th Street and 41st Street. The peak hour on that section of road is approximately 168 vehicles during the peak hour. So during that peak hour, it's 168 vehicles that will be relocating either onto the other streets or coming through driveways or finding other routes. The other streets in the neighborhood, Norton Avenue between 39th Street and 41st Street, we have 136 vehicles during the peak hour. And then on Norton Avenue north of 39th Street, there's 164 vehicles during that peak hour. So on Norton, we're looking at 140 to 170 vehicles currently during the peak hour that are traveling on Norton, and there's the 168 on Duluth that'll, some of that traffic will get displaced over onto Norton. The question kind of comes down to the final layout on how plans are set up, on how much of that traffic ends up on Norton, or how much of it still continues on Duluth to go into the various driveways, into Billions and other locations. But, a safe assumption is probably that a little over half of that traffic will be displaced, and if that's the case, we're probably looking at the 136 vehicles on Norton increasing to probably to the 210 vehicles during that peak hour range, approximately, give or take. I mean, it's the final layouts and how things are zoned and how things are laid out with the development make a lot of changes, but that's what we're seeing with the traffic numbers for the volumes.
Thank you.
Heath, thank you. Councilor Anderson Jr.
Can Mike come back up here, please?
Michael?
Can we go back to that other slide showing the parking lot? Okay. Mike, I like this idea that we're going to provide more parking for their employees, because Duluth has always been a problem between 41st and 39th there as far as getting through there. And I thought it was quite a dangerous couple block area, especially with vehicles shooting across from Minnesota through their parking lot. But I do question the parking lot access on to Norton Avenue, and especially if we're going to be increasing the traffic on Norton, as Heath just spoke about, to maybe up around 200 cars at a peak period, to allow that parking lot to access Norton when they can still access Duluth or 41st or Minnesota. I really question that area there.
Councilor, I appreciate that comment, and I would just say that tonight, as part of the Duluth Avenue discussion, that's something that we were prepared to address in more detail through the zoning hearing process, but that's something that we were going to be taking a look at as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Councilor Jameson.
Thank you. Mike, if you could stay. The street vacation program is really set up if the property owner on each side of the road owns or has 100% control of each side of the road. That's how they can fulfill the application for the vacation.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so they apparently have met that, obviously, or they wouldn't be here. And like you talk about, the parking lot and the layout and the design of all that, berming and trees, will be decided later. It's more of the vacation that we're discussing tonight only.
But we still wanted to let everybody know what the intent
Likely
is with
use
the
of it.
vacation. So you kind of see the big picture concept.
And then as I look at 39th Street there, will there be access through the business for the public? I mean, I've done that plenty of times, I suppose, gotten off of 40 Minnesota and drove into that intersection to try to get to Lewis or other places. Is that still going to be open to the public, or is that just private?
Can you show that corner? Yep. Yeah, there is an opening through there, but we'll have him show you where that's at on the map.
Good evening, Paul Korn, civil engineer, 216 South Duluth Avenue, hired by Billion Auto to assist them with this. Yeah, with regards to the question with regards to access on Duluth Avenue at 39th Street, there is a rear drive right on the north side of Billion Auto that does continue through to 39th Street, and that access would be maintained east-west, but there is no access north-south into the Billion property. So the only access would be that existing access right on the north side of Billion Auto, right onto Duluth 39th Street intersection.
Paul, the councilor was wondering, and councilor, if you don't mind, I think the councilor was wondering, is there an opportunity for patrons coming into the parking lot that they'll be able to somehow navigate to other exits? Is that appropriate, Councilor Jameson?
If I could, I just want to be real clear, is coming off of Minnesota Avenue, can I get from Minnesota Avenue on to 39th through the back end of the Billion Automotive there?
Through the parking lot?
On the north side, on the north side of Billion Auto, yes, that access will be maintained.
For the public? The public can do that?
Well, it's not desirable, but there is an easement in place there that'll for park use along there as well. So it's private property right now, I guess. So, but it is being used by the public as a through for thoroughway.
Okay.
Thanks, Paul. Councilor Karski.
Thank you. Mr. Cooper, one more time, please. I just want to understand the process, and I've got it. I think most of the pieces of the puzzle fit in from the questions, but tonight we're talking about a street vacation. When does the zoning change? When is that brought to us? And are we getting the cart ahead of the horse by doing the street vacation before a zoning change?
The street vacation needs to be decided first, because if that doesn't get vacated, they probably will not go forward with this plan. The zoning is scheduled to go to the July Planning Commission, and then it would be coming to City Council for second reading the first meeting in August.
Okay.
That's the rezoning.
Very good, Mike. And David, would you mind explaining to the council too about the votes required tonight? This is a little unusual, but would you mind explaining that? And then Councilor Erickson, I promise I'll get to you.
Under state law, since this is a developed right-of-way, it require a 2/3 vote of the council, an affirmative vote, in order to allow the vacation, which would mean 6 affirmative votes.
Councilor Erickson.
I'm not sure if I have a statement or more of a question. I struggle with this a little bit because we are really encroaching in the neighborhoods. I understand it's the busy area, et cetera, but we're not just talking about a third of that parking lot. We are then almost parallel with the park back there as well, having heavy commercial there. Yes, it's a car lot. However, it is pretty busy coming and going. I mean, you go to a car lot, it's nonstop. They've got people getting oil changes and fixing their vehicles, and you name it. I mean, it's a revolving door. And my concern is that Norton Street, when you add an extra 136 cars on their street potentially with that access, it's just potential, I get it. And we're talking about the vacation, but this is really, truly what we're talking about. Because if we vacate it and then don't approve the rezone, and what's the point? I mean, this really all goes hand in hand. It's all sort of a puzzle here. So my question is if we don't vacate, do they still plan to tear down all those houses and move forward? Or what's kind of the plan? What's the idea behind some of that? Maybe you don't want to comment.
Hi, I'm Jim Heine, and I represent Billion Family Limited Partnership and Billion Motors on this deal. So, ask that question. Sorry, what's our plan?
Well, my question is if you don't get the vacation, will you still move? I mean, do you own all those houses already that you're able to just move forward upon the rezone, or is it all a if for and then this will happen?
No, we own all the houses. We own one is under contract, so we don't own one of them yet, but we're just waiting for a tenant to give them enough time to move out. So basically, we own everything except for Dr. Severson's dental practice there.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anything else?
If I could, councilors, I should have done this probably. We've been talking about this a long time. Can I at least get a motion and then let's talk about it? We don't even have a motion on this one yet.
I will move the...
No, we'll continue the discussion. Okay, I swear.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Ruffing made a motion on the resolution, and then it was seconded by Councilor Karski. Councilor Kiley.
Thank you. In our notes, it states that the vacated street would be used for vehicle display and employee parking. What guarantee that we do not? What guarantee do we have that in the future it's not going to become all vehicle display, and the employees are going to continue to park on Norton Avenue? Even if we eliminate parking on the east side of Norton, then the employees would be parking on the west side of Norton, which would take up all of the space in front of the residents on that side of the street. So what guarantee do we have moving forward that it's going to be used?
Well, we've already started some of the process. We've moved about 50 employees that were there in more of a cube farm, and because we knew we didn't have enough parking there, we moved them over to our 41st by Target there, and they are there. So we're trying everything possible to move employees out of that area because we don't have enough parking. We understand that.
Jeff or Mike, is there anything that the city can do to, and I think Councilor Kiley was trying to get it. It says this in the resolution, but is there any meat behind it, any power behind it from the city's perspective?
And I'm not sure it's in the resolution. It's in our red notes.
It's in the red notes, yeah. Is there anything that...
The city council has the ability to approve parking restrictions.
Okay.
On streets, which we can do.
However, that would adversely affect the residents.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I think also that, again, this might be jumping ahead some of your comfort level, but through the zoning process, there's another opportunity that we could address parking, where the parking would be and who would be using the parking. That would be another opportunity for that to be discussed.
Okay. Again, councilors, this is about vacating the Duluth right-of-way. If we can just keep the discussion to that, and I think it's time to vote. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
No.
Erpenbach?
No.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kiley?
No.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
That is failed 5-3. Item 17.
A resolution vacating the unnamed street right-of-way from the south right-of-way line of East 60th Street North to the 476.771 foot south as shown on the attached exhibit.
This resolution proposes to vacate the unnamed street right-of-way. This right-of-way is located west of the intersection of Cliff Avenue and 60th Street North and runs south approximately 476 feet. This petition was submitted by Michael Sheehan on behalf of Sheehan Mac Companies. The subject right-of-way does not serve as a street use. If this right-of-way is vacated, a utility easement shall be maintained for public and private utilities on that vacated right-of-way. The petitioner has complied with our street vacation policy. A neighborhood meeting was not required for this proposed right-of-way vacation. Engineering staff supports this vacation. A representative of the petitioner is present here tonight to answer any questions you may have.
Folks, anybody in the audience want to speak to this item? Welcome. No? Very good. Oh, yes, sir. You did want to speak to this item. Welcome.
Okay. Hi, how are you? I'm Larry Clement, Mike Sheehan's partner. And Mayor, I want to thank you for the support that you and the city have shown. He was at our dedication 3 years ago when we built our new building, and Sheehan Company just celebrated our 60th year in business as a South Dakota business in March. And by the way, he gave a real pitch on the city of Sioux Falls to all of our outside people we brought in. So great ambassador there. I have been a lifelong resident of Iowa. I have a house here on the Hemmingstone Trail about a couple years ago. Been a partner in the Sheehan Company since 1987. Sold all of my businesses I had in 7 or 8 different states, and this is where I live now. So, we've all heard about the bridge in Alaska to nowhere. We got a road to nowhere. The only difference is it didn't cost anybody any money. So, what we're doing, we're buying the property behind 4 acres approximately from the city, from Citibank for future expansion. So, that's what we're doing, and we worked with the planning and zoning and the engineering. We know we're going to have an issue on 60th Street down the road where we place the stoplight years back, in the future. We're very confident that the planning and engineering will work with us where we can get that all worked out. So, any questions that any of you have?
Thank you for those kind comments.
I think we're non-controversial on this one anyway. We'll make your job easy.
You never know, but thank you. Did anybody else have any comments on this particular item? Councilors?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve this item. It's been seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Yes, Councilor Kiley.
I would just like to quickly point out the difference between vacating this particular street and the last one, and that is because, in this situation, it is a road to nowhere. It's business on both sides, or it's not impacting residential areas. So there's a huge difference here, and I think we are judging each of these based on their individual merits.
Councilor Kiley, thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson? Yes. Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 18.
A resolution vacating a portion of the South Kenton Lane right-of-way as shown on Exhibit 1.
This resolution proposes to vacate a portion of the South Kenton Lane right-of-way. This location is near the 85th and Western intersection. A petition was submitted by RMB Associates and signed by all the adjacent property owners. The petitioner has complied with our street vacation policy. The right-of-way has never been used for public travel. If the right-of-way is vacated, a utility easement shall be maintained for public and private utilities on the vacated right-of-way. A neighborhood meeting was not necessary for this proposed vacation. Engineering supports this vacation. Representative of the petitioner is present tonight to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Jeff. Did anybody want to speak to this item? Council?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Erpenbach.
Thank you, councilors. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski? Kiley?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
That has passed 7-0. Item 19.
A resolution declaring the necessity to construct the Basin 17 sanitary sewer system and assessing the cost to each lot or tract of land benefiting thereby.
Good evening, Ryan Johnson with the City of Sioux Falls Engineering Department. Would like to present to you tonight the Basin 17 Sanitary Sewer Cost Recovery Resolution and Necessity. Go ahead, Diane. Thank you. To get you familiar with the location of Basin 17, it's generally bordered by I-229 on the west, the Big Sioux River near Rice Street on the south, Sycamore Avenue on the east, and generally north of the Humane Society in the National Guard area to the north. The area in green is what we're calling benefiting property, and that's the area that's going to be benefiting from the sanitary sewer extension that we plan to install. The areas in red are generally considered undevelopable. They include areas in the south that are in floodway and floodway plain plan. Areas near Benson Road and 229 that have a lot of contours and relief that are currently owned by the City of Sioux Falls and are generally considered undevelopable. And areas that are at the very north end of the Basin 17 area that would likely flow to the north, and the areas in green would flow to the south to Basin 17. Through the process of meeting with property owners, we identified an area that was two areas that should be included in the benefiting property areas. Although this is an estimate of the area and an estimate of the cost, we make every effort to get it as accurate as possible with the available information that we have. So shortly after we set the date of hearing, we identified these two areas and wanted to point those out. It's in 16A and 2B that are pointed out there above. It added approximately 10 acres to the overall cost recovery area. So the new map is on the next slide. Again, the basin, the green area is the area that we use in the denominator portion of the cost recovery formula. The sanitary sewer that we're going to be installing is going to be installed in two phases. The magenta line near the bottom of the page is the phase 1 portion of this that we intend to construct or bid later this year and construct into 2016. The phase 2 portion of it would be extended past what we're referring to as the first draw, parallel Sycamore Avenue, and terminate at Benson Road. And that's anticipated to be constructed in 2021, design, and 2022 constructed. The phase 1 portion will open up about 470 or 450 acres of industrial park development land, and the phase 2 portion will open up about 370 when that project is completed. On the next slide, share just a little bit of the process that we've gone through. We had the project identified late February and early April, and we moved quickly to develop this resolution of necessity. We met with the 7 property owners, all on an individual basis, sometimes multiple times, to answer questions that they had and to really understand what the cost recovery rule was about and lay out the details that were involved in that. On May 19th, we set the notice of hearing date for tonight's hearing on June 9th. Going forward, we plan to construct the phase 1 portion and bid it later this year and construct late this year and into 2016. And the phase 2 piece would be 2021 and 22 is when we're anticipating to build those pieces. The phase 1 and phase 2 construction costs are estimated at $2,545,000. The total project area, which includes the benefiting and non-benefiting areas, 966 acres. The area to focus on is the actual benefiting property, which is used to calculate the cost recovery on the per acre basis, which is 820.3 acres. So if we go to the next slide, you see the total cost divided by the total benefiting acre equates to $3,102.51 per acre is what we're estimating. Cost recoveries have been used for many years. We have 12 of them on the books currently. Some of the recent ones that were completed, the East Side Sanitary Sewer cost recovery was finalized in 2009 with a cost recovery amount of just over $4,800 per acre. Basin 13 was completed last year with the cost recovery amount of $4,178, and the Basin 17 cost recovery is currently estimated at $3,100, $3,102.51, and it's just an estimate, and we will finalize that upon completion of the Phase 2, and we really get into the details on how that development will look, and we finalize the cost recovery rule at that time. Just some items that are common to our cost recoveries. They're detail pieces that I think is fair just to bring to the forefront again and mention as we go through this process. Boundary adjustments, we leave that at the direction of the Director of Public Works if areas are added to the benefited property or removed from the benefited property. The Director of Public Works, after the final cost recovery rule, has the discretion to add or subtract those areas. Cost recovery payments. The goal of the cost recovery is to only collect when you connect to the sanitary sewer system. Way the development typically occurs is the platting occurs generally just prior to connection, and at that time they're collecting the arterial street platting fees, the drainage platting fees, the water main platting fees, and that's an opportunity for us to collect the sanitary sewer cost recovery at that time too. So we feel just prior to connection is at the time of platting is when we connect or when we collect. Cost recovery deferrals, there's two situations in which something like this would apply. Only applies to rural residential properties. There are two of them in the Basin 17 area. The first deferral would apply is if the property was over 5 acres in size and they only had one connection. We would just apply a 1 acre cost recovery to that property until it's subdivided or redeveloped, and then we would collect the difference at that time. The other one is based on federal income guidelines. As far as payment options, upon completion of the final cost recovery, properties that will be invoiced and they have an option to pay at one lump sum time or do 5 equal installments with an interest rate that's outlined in ordinance. If a property happens to connect prior to the final cost recovery roll, the developer would have to escrow the amount equal to this cost recovery, and we would collect that amount upon final cost recovery, evaluation and roll, and invoice any overages that may be necessary at that time. Just one last thing to note, the Basin 17 project, the Phase 1 of the Basin 17 project was not identified in the current capital program. We were able to accelerate that project by working with a developer who will reimburse the city as contractors' pay requests come in and as engineering pay requests come in, the full Phase 1 amount. So it's a good win for the development community and for the city. I guess with that, I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Ryan. Good job. Folks, anybody in the audience want to speak to this item? Councilors?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Erpenbach.
Thank you, councilors. Appreciate that. Councilor Rolfing.
You just said the contractor is going to upfront the money basically, or pay the bills as they came in. Are they going to be bonded or anything to make sure that that money is going to be there ahead of time in case something would happen?
Yeah, so we will escrow that amount prior to awarding the project.
Thank you.
A roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
That is passed 7-1. Item 20.
A resolution approving the special assessment roll for construction of sidewalk on West 41st Street from South Sertoma Avenue to South Ellis Road.
In January of 2014, the council approved a resolution of necessity to construct this particular sidewalk. This resolution would approve the special assessment roll for the construction of sidewalk on West 41st Street from Sertoma Avenue to the Ellis Road. This sidewalk was installed as part of the construction of West 41st Street between Sertoma Avenue and the Ellis Road in 2014. The total amount assessed to those 7 properties shown in solid yellow is $68,299. The estimated cost for the sidewalk installation was stated as $25 per front foot. The actual cost that this resolution roll would apply is $21.32. The remaining parcels, which had sidewalk installed as part of the project, will pay future platting fees, be negotiated as part of a potential future annexation plan, or are city-owned parcels, as the map shows. Engineering asks for your support in approving this special assessment roll.
Hey, Jeff. Anybody want to speak to this item? Council.
Move to approve, Karski.
Second, Urbanbach.
Councilor Kiley has made a motion to approve this, and by Councilor Urbanbach. Councilor Staggers.
Yes, I have a quick question, just to clarify. We're only assessing property that's in the city of Sioux Falls right now.
That's right.
Okay.
A roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson? Yes. Urbanbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
That is passed 7-1. Item 21.
A resolution approving the cost recovery roll for construction of sanitary sewer main along West 41st Street from South Sertoma Avenue to South Grinnell Avenue.
In January of 2014, Council approved a resolution of necessity to construct the sanitary sewer. This resolution tonight would approve the cost recovery roll for the construction of sanitary sewer main along West 41st Street from South Sertoma Avenue to South Grinnell Avenue. This sewer was installed as part of the construction of West 41st Street between Sertoma Avenue and the T. Ellis Road in 2014. This sewer potentially could benefit those properties, those 3 properties as shown here on the map. Those properties benefiting from this sewer would pay if and only at the time that they were to connect to this sewer. The total cost of this sanitary sewer is $99,395. The cost to the properties are calculated on a per front foot basis. They calculate to $43.01, and at the time we had estimated to the property owners of $50, so we're below the estimated cost at the resolution of necessity. Engineering asks for your support in approving this cost recovery.
Thanks, Chap. Did anybody want to speak to this item? Councilors?
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Karski.
Councilors, thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Urbanbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
That is passed 7-1. Item 22.
A resolution approving the release of the permanent storm sewer easement located in the south 10 feet of the south 21 feet of Lot 1 and all of Lot 2 of Jacobson's subdivision of the east 1/2 of Block 4, Pettigrew, and Tate's 6th addition to Sioux Falls, Minnehaha County, South Dakota.
This stormwater easement is located just north of the intersection of 41st Street and Holly Avenue. A little bit hard to see on that first picture. This permanent stormwater easement was granted and recorded in 1973. The facilities have been abandoned that were located within the stormwater easement as described. Engineering staff recommends the permanent easement be released on this property.
Thanks, Chap. Anybody in the audience? Council?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Rolfing.
Thank you, Councilors. Councilor Urbanbach?
So where does the stormwater go? If we don't have an easement there, what happens? Explain what this means.
Well, it isn't needed any longer as part of this release of the easement. I know our drainage team would have taken a pretty good look at this. feel confident that it's not needed. It's been abandoned.
Okay.
There is no facilities in this easement.
Okay, good. Thank you.
A roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson, Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 23.
A resolution approving the release of the permanent 24-foot storm drainage and utility easement located in Track H1 and Lot 2 and Block 5 of Valhalla addition to the City of Sioux Falls, Minnehaha County, South Dakota.
This easement is located in the general area of Louise Avenue between 51st Street and 53rd Street. This permanent 24-foot storm drainage, storm water, and utility easement was established in 1997. There are no public or private facilities located within the described permanent easement area. Engineering staff recommends the permanent easement areas be released on this property.
Thanks, Jeff. Anybody in the audience want to speak to this item, councilors?
Move to approve, Erickson.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Erickson has been a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 24.
A resolution approving the release of the permanent 10-foot utility easement located in Track 3 of Candlelight Acres, Second Edition, to the City of Sioux Falls, Lincoln County, South Dakota.
This easement is located near the intersection of 69th Street and Cary Avenue. This permanent 10-foot utility easement was established in 2005. There are no public or private facilities located within this described permanent easement area. Engineering staff recommends the permanent easement areas be released on this property.
Thanks, Jeff. Anybody in the audience want to speak to this item? Councilors?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Kylie.
Councilors, thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 25.
A proposed resolution vacating the alley right-of-way from the east right-of-way line of North Helen Avenue to the west right-of-way line of North Harlem Avenue, as shown on the attached exhibit.
Good evening. Kurt Peppel, Engineering Division, Public Works. This right-of-way shown on yellow near the intersection of North Kiwanis Avenue and West Madison Street is alley right-of-way. Petition was submitted by SIRE and Associates on behalf of the property owners. It is not improved. Petitioner has complied with the right-of-way vacation policy and will be notified to be in attendance for the public hearing. If the right-of-way is vacated, utility easement will not be maintained. We are not requiring a neighborhood meeting for this right-of-way vacation, and engineering supports the vacation.
Thanks, Kurt. Thanks for sticking around so long. Folks, would anybody want to set a date of hearing for Tuesday, July 14th for this item?
So move.
Second, Karski.
Thank you. Councilor Anderson Jr., Councilor Rolfing, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson.
Yes.
Erickson. Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 26.
A proposed resolution vacating the North Subert Avenue right-of-way from the north right-of-way line of East 57th Street north to the south property line of Lot 9, Block 1, Highland Park subdivision, as shown on Exhibit A.
This right-of-way is kind of in the northeast part of town near Cliff and East 60th Street North. Petition was submitted by Bender Commercial Real Estate on behalf of the owners. Petitioner has complied with the right-of-way vacation policy and will be notified to be in attendance at the public hearing. Right-of-way, if vacated, an easement for public and private utilities will be maintained. It is currently not improved. Neighborhood meeting is currently scheduled for Thursday, July 2nd at 7 p.m. and which you will be invited to. And engineering supports this right-of-way vacation.
Thanks, Kurt. Council, would anybody want to set a hearing date for Tuesday, July 14th for this item?
So moved.
Second, Erpenbach.
Thank you, Councilor Kiley. Thank you, Councilor Erickson. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson, Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Kiley.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 27.
A proposed resolution vacating the alley right-of-way from the north right-of-way line of West 11th Street to the north lot lines of lots 5A and 14 Block 5 J.L. Phillips, addition as shown on Exhibit A.
This right-of-way, as shown on the map, very near here, West 11th Street and between South Minnesota Avenue and South Dakota Avenue, it is alley right-of-way. Petition was submitted by Eric Tucker on behalf of the YMCA and MB. Petitioner has complied with the right-of-way vacation policy and will be notified to be in attendance of the public hearing. It is currently improved. If the right-of-way is vacated, a utility easement will be maintained. We are not requiring a neighborhood meeting for this right-of-way vacation, and engineering supports the right-of-way vacation.
Thanks, Kurt. Councilors, would anybody want to set a hearing date for Tuesday, July 14th for this item?
So moved.
Second, Karski.
Thank you, Councilor Erickson. Thank you, Councilor Karski. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
Karski. Kiley.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Councilors, any other business? Very good. I know you've had a very, very busy day. Would anybody want to?
Move to adjourn.
Thank you, Councilor Anderson Jr. Appreciate that. Can I get a second? Thank you, Councilor Erickson. Appreciate that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you for your service, city councilors.